Alright, PDSN crew. Today we're diving into something that sits under your operating system, under the drivers, under the bootloader, the layer nobody talks about, because the people don't know it even exists. Coreboot 26.06 just dropped, and it's another step toward ripping out proprietary firmware and replacing it with something open, audible, and actually under your control. This release brings early support for Nova Lake and AMD Strix. Hollow, two massive next-gen platforms. And yes, the firmware supports loading before the hardware even ships. Is exactly the kind of sovereign energy we like to see. Coreboot 2606 is packed release. Here's the big stuff. Early enablement for Intel Nova Lake. Early enablement for AMD Strix Hollow. Multiple new mainboards added. Improved AMD recovery path. Boot performance tuned across several platforms. General cleanup, refactoring, and documentation improved. This is the kind of release that quietly moves the entire open firmware ecosystem forward. Intel's Nova Lake platform is expected to bring major architectural shifts, and the Coreboot already has early support baked in. That means developers, researchers, sovereignty-minded users can start preparing for a world where Intel hardware boots without opaque vendor firmware dictating the rules. Early support doesn't mean fully functional, but it does mean the groundwork is laid, and historically, once Coreboot gets its hooks in progress, accelerates fast. AMD Strix Halo APUs shaping the up to be an absolute unit, high performance, high efficiency, and aimed at premium laptops and handhelds. Coreboot 2606 includes early support, which is huge because AMD platforms traditionally require more vendor firmware glue. Seeing Strix Halo get early attention means AMD open firmware story is improving, and that's the good news for anyone who wants to run Linux without a mystery code involved initializing their hardware. Coreboot continues expanding its hardware reach. New mainboard in 2606 includes developer board, embedded industrial systems, and a couple of laptop platforms getting initial scaffolding. Every new board means more hardware that can boot without proprietary BIOS or UEFI. Recovery paths matter. If your firmware gets corrupt, you need a way back. Coreboot 2606 improves AMD recovery logic, making it more resilient and less dependent on the vendor-specific behavior. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes work that doesn't get headlines but absolutely matters for the long-term reliability. Coreboot mission is fast, minimal, secure boot. 2606 includes performance tuning across multiple platforms, shaving milliseconds, optimizing initial sequence, and reducing unnecessary steps. It's not flashy, but it's kind of engineering that makes Coreboot feel snappy and professional. Intel and AMD are both pushing massive next-gen platforms. Coreboot lands early. Support means open firmware isn't falling behind. Open hardware freedom is expanding. Developers can prepare sovereign systems before launch. The open source community stays competitive with the vendor's firmware. This is how to build a future where your computer boots your code, not whatever the vendor decides to shove in the firmware. Coreboot 26.06 isn't just another release, it's a signal. Open firmware is keeping pace with the biggest players in the industry. Intel and AMD next generation platforms all get the early attention. The sovereign movement isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. And that's the story for now. Don't forget, like, follow, and subscribe. We're always back with more. See you then.